Hey everyone, thanks for such a wonderful introduction. I don't really believe I've deserved such kind of words, but still. So, and actually, you're one of the largest audiences I've made a public speech to, so it's pretty funny that today we'll be speaking about fuck-ups, so it's pretty like vulnerable position, so we're going hard mode. But I believe it's very important to acknowledge the mistakes and develop a habit of turning the mistakes into some learnings. It's very important, not only for founders, but also for, I believe, for all of us humans. So a couple of words about myself. So I'm Yury. I've been on both the sides of the startup world, so spent around 4 years in VC, then 4 years as a startup founder, then made a comeback to VC. Currently head of scouting analytics at Ultra. We invest in pre-seed and investing and support impact-driven startup founders. So basically, as a startup founder, I do not have a unicorn scale successes for now, unfortunately, but have lots of experience and some early stage achievements, like raised some money, around $1 million in total. From fun facts, in 2020, one of my apps became the mobile app of the year on Product Hunt. And from a VC side, I've during the 5 years in total in VC, I've screened countless thousands of startups. I can speak only with a more precise number is 1,200 plus startups during the last year. We've invested in 15 of them. So also I try to share some stuff that still cannot be generated by LLMs on my Substack blog / newsletter. So you can check this out and subscribe if you find it useful. So briefly summarized, I've seen some shit, but I'm still dumb best in lots of stuff. But and when I was first starting the company in 2020, I left the VC and started my first startup. I was pretty much sure that my VC background is an unfair advantage. I've seen thousands of startups, and I thought it will allow me at least not to make some silly mistakes. And how the heck I was wrong? I mean, when you're building a startup, you are making hundreds, if not thousands, of decisions, and each one of them is an opportunity to screw something up. And of course, most of these fuck-ups are quite trivial, and they won't kill your company in one day, unless there are too many of them, and when they combine into something non-manageable, super mega fuck-up. But there are some of them that may significantly lower your chances to succeed. And while preparing for this speech, I've thought what were the crucial ones from my perspective and from my experience, and highlighted 3 of them that I wanted to share you today. And the first one, I thought too much and talked with users too little. So I'll share a bit of a story about my first startup, EduDo, and we'll tell you more about why I think it's very important. So back in early 2020, it was pretty clear that the world of content is being eaten by TikTok. And I mean not only the platform itself, but also the format, vertical bite-sized videos. Back then, I was working in VC and made a research on the mentality of US Gen Z, and came up with a hypothesis that there is a tangible segment of these Gen Z TikTok users who still fall into this dopamine trap, but feel very guilty about themselves after the sessions on TikTok. Something oh, I've wasted so much time again and again and again and again. So I've dig deeper and made quite a comprehensive research, both qualitative and quantitative, and estimated this segment as something between 15 and 25% of all the Gen Z TikTok users, and it was pretty much a big number to build a venture scalable company for them. So the initial vision was like pretty simple in words. Like we wanted to build an app with bite-sized but thought-provoking content, which will feed users with these quick dopamine hits, but won't leave them with this feeling of being sorry for themselves for like doom scrolling this. Basically, that was it. And it was pretty, I believe it was a pretty solid vision back then because of course we were competing with, we were about to compete with TikTok and all the content platforms, but counting the like most direct competitor TikTok, we, of course you could and still can find some thought-provoking and smart content on TikTok, but TikTok as a platform do not have a goal to educate you. And they have a goal to make you spend as much time as you can on the platform. So the algorithms work towards this goal, and even if you like engage only with like smart content, it's still like a minor in your main feed. So I've gathered the team, I've raised an angel round, and we started building the platform. And it was quite a time to start building a startup in Belarus in July 2020. Like we gathered offline for the first time, and in our office, Oktyabrskaya Street. Some of you may know it. So, and we came through lots of non-startup related quests, let's call it this way, like went through the prison, like migration, etc., but we managed to launch the first version of app on December 2020. And then there was the story with Product Hunt. We just launched like more for fun, I'd say, and the prank went out of control, and we ended up being the mobile app of the year. Like in our nomination, there were like we were competing with folks like, for example, Reface, who had like 100, if I'm not mistaken, 150 million users back then, and we had like 1K. Raised the second round, and these all like the early, let's call it shiny things, like shiny achievements, combined with this pretty like solid research the initial vision was built on, made me very sure about the vision. Like I'd even say too sure. And we started growing pretty aggressively. We started growing aggressively, but there was one thing, and this thing is that retention was pretty shitty. And but we were so much into the mission, into the vision, that we had not even any doubt that it will work out. And there were, and let alone like speaking with users and learning what they do not like about the app. There was even a moment of time, I remember, when I was thinking that there is some kind of a mystical amount of daily active users after achieving which everything will work out and the retention will significantly improve, etc., etc., etc. So we just like completely fucked up talking with users. If we have done so, we'd found out that we made a pretty common mistake at the beginning, and we haven't defined a niche specific enough to provide every single user with enough value. So basically, for an average user, there was not so much content on the platform that may sound interesting for each separate user. We eventually found this out, but if we have talked to at least like a couple dozens of users straight away, we would have learned it like, 5 times faster than we actually did. So it costed us, I'd say, a couple of months, and I believe maybe one more major hypothesis to test before like running out of money and will. So the first like takeaway from this like story is pretty simple and it's very common, but still I believe pretty powerful. So the more you actually talk with your users, the more likely you are to get the insights you need to build a truly valuable product for them. It's pretty simple. Still, like I'm speaking with like hundreds of founders every month, and you can't even imagine how many of them are not ever even afraid of speaking with users. They don't even think about it. So please, like, keep it in mind. The second thing is very important as well. So I really believe that most of the problems can be solved by hiring. And when we started, we were just a team of 5, but in less, like maybe 6 or 7 months, we were like really 15 full-time folks building this thing. And of course, there were lots of stuff to do. Like you need to build a platform, and it came out that building a video-based platform is like appeared to be like more difficult than we have expected. You need to fill it into the content. You need to do marketing. You need to do fundraising. You need to do operational stuff, and this and this and this and this. And I can't say that we were like just like mindlessly hiring. No, at each separate point, each separate decision looked very reasonable. Like we are like running out of like energy, like people, human hours to build some stuff. We need to hire more employees. But the tricky thing here is that unfortunately, I haven't encountered this peak at that time, and scaling your team comes up not only with like increasing your burn rate, but also with increasing the complexity of the team, of communication inside the team and management of team. So at one point, I've just found us in a situation where we needed to establish like more advanced processes inside the team, etc., etc. But we haven't even found product market fit until this. So so that's also the thing that costed us some time and also money. And if you want to, like, if you're building a startup right now or like envision building it in the near future, I found some benchmarks. So of course the context may vary, but if you want like to just have an idea, to get the idea of how do the typical seed stage startup look like or a Series A startup look like, here are the numbers. So, and here is the takeaway. Hiring is not always a good sign, and you should be very, very cautious about it. And the third one, it's pretty abstract, but I'll run into more details. So I failed to make important decisions in the proper time. So, and by important decisions, I mean mostly 2 kinds of them. It's acknowledging that the hypothesis does not work and we need to pivot, and all kind of people-related decisions. So the first one, like, again, the first one, it took us around 6 months to really understand and acknowledge that something may not work and start thinking how we can like pivot, how we can find any other concept. And like reflecting now, I'd say that everything was pretty clear like in 2.5, 3 months. But there is a very tricky situation when, so you came out with the initial hypothesis. You can't but like fall in love with it. And when something works not in the way you've expected, it's very common for us humans to start looking for some excuses that the deal is not in the hypothesis itself, but in some kind of a minor detail. Like, we need to fix this minor detail, and everything will work out. And sometimes it will. But the real trick here is that usually when you start thinking this way, it's a rabbit hole. So basically, there are endless amounts of these like minor details that can be fixed. And the reality is that if the concept does not work on a fundamental level, it does not work, and all these fixes won't make it work. And if the concept works on a fundamental level, your users, especially take consideration that all the early users are early adopters who are typically like more tolerant to some frictions and can forgive you them. You will see that they love it. And regarding the people stuff, of course, when I talk about like people-related decisions, I mostly mean firing somebody, because it's, I don't know, I believe for a vast majority of people it's hard. For me, yes. And I believe there is no like golden rules of when to let somebody go. And the hard part here is that you've usually invested lots of energy, time, and soul into finding a person, onboarding this person. And your mind subconsciously starts like telling you that the real problem is not the person. The problem is the context around the person. So the person just needs some more time to actually provide value. And again, I do not have a like clear strategy how to deal with that. But as I see now, as like most effective founders I've seen working, is that when a person you've hired, you're not satisfied with the performance of a person you've hired on a gut like feeling for like first couple of months, usually, and the situation does not change based on some like more objective achievements. Usually the best solution will be to let this person go. So all these three like fuck-ups and learnings from them are mostly about one thing. Building a startup is of course a marathon, because it's like an average time from founding a startup to an exit is like 7 to 8 years. But when you're at the earliest stages, the only thing that matters is time. And I believe it's how many hypotheses you can really manage to test during this time you have, this limited time you have. So if we were, like I were more wise regarding these three, so basically in the story of EduDo, we had one major pivot. So basically we tested two fundamental hypotheses. I believe if I was more wise with these three things, we will be able to test at least one more major hypothesis, or maybe even two. So, and let's not forget that even if you do everything right, that's never the case, but still, hypotheses are still hypotheses, and they may not work out, simply not work out. So it seems like really wise to build a strategy that allows you to test more of them during the limited time you have. So in a nutshell, like talk with users, hire consciously, be courageous enough to make important decisions in time, and the most important stuff, enjoy this journey, because there are so few things that can be comparable to building something out of nothing. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Yury, for your presentation. It was really nice to hear it. By the way, I saw it before you, because yes. I was checking Spoiler Google alert. Slides. Yeah. Yeah, but still, it was interesting to listen to you. And guys, those who now I have a Q&A session, and the best, how to say it? So the person who has the best question will get a ticket to VD. Oh my God, sorry. So the biggest startup conference in Valencia, it's going to be pretty soon. And
beautiful city.
Huh?
Beautiful city.
Beautiful city, beautiful people, lots of investors, startups, and potential partners. And so raise your hands if you have a question to Yury, to me, no, later. And please don't be shy to ask them as the best, yep, I see. No, it's not you. It's the guy that is.
It's a person behind.
You can do it later. Yeah.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. My question is, you mentioned something like getting into the rabbit hole of small problems. So my question is, what would you suggest to not get into that hole actually, and how to make sure that the moment when we need to pivot and not continue to fix these small issues?
Yeah, that's a really great question and a tough one because there is no clear answer to this. But usually, it's okay to polish some stuff after you launch the first version of the product, because the first version of the product is usually something you're not very proud of. If you launch something you're proud of, you are maybe launching too late. So, but at some point, you may find yourself in a situation when your hypothesis on what does not work in the initial fundamental hypothesis go down to very too much of an mechanic and operational stuff. We need to increase the number of people who get through our onboarding by 5% more, and everything will work out, or something like this. Usually, there is a concept of 10x decisions that may have this 10x impact on the product. And usually, when you run out of these hypotheses on how to polish your product and start micromanaging it, usually it never works on a fundamental level, and it's better to invest into finding some brand new concept. But still, it may vary, and I'm very cautious when advising anyone because startup the main thing is that there are no universal success stories, and usually even something that works for one company may not work for another company, and vice versa. And that's why I really like the saying of Vinod Khosla. It's one of the most respected VCs from the Valley, old school ones, who said that 80% of advices that VC and other founders give to founders bring negative value. So, but yeah, basically, when you start micromanaging the product, it's usually the sign that you need to stop doing it and find some kind of a different find the fundamental hypothesis.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, a couple of questions, two more questions, as we have a tight schedule, and yeah, so please give them.
Hello.
Hi.
What you have really seen during making your startup that you decide to return to VC, not to continue to found startups?
Oh, that's a topic for one more speech. But in a nutshell, building a startup is a way of taking punches, hooks, and knockdowns. And usually, and the most important thing I look for now as a head of scouting at VC Fund, for example, is do the founders really have strong internal, sometimes even irrational motivation to build this thing? Because if this motivation is around money, I want to earn some money. There are lots of more effective strategies to learn a lot of money than building a startup. If this motivation, you will be surprised how many founders become startup founders just because they want to live a lifestyle of a startup founder. Because from the outside, it looks very fancy, like you build a tech company, you're hustling, like you're the breakthrough of innovations, etc., etc. The reality is that it's a very harsh journey, and most of such traveling founders end up just closing the startup in a couple of months after finding out what this journey is. So for me personally, answering your question, I still have an ambition to build something big. and I believe it's not should be necessarily a startup, because a startup is a tool, like a path how to achieve your vision. So if when I find some vision that will inspire me from the internally to start building it, and if I will have to start a startup once again to fulfill this mission, to reach this goal, I'll do it again. But I don't want to lie to myself. There are lots of good ideas around, but your one, that inspires you, it really inspires you, takes some time to find. And this time, maybe a couple of weeks, or maybe a couple dozens of years. I hope not the least, but still. So we'll see.
Thanks much.
One more question. Oh, so many questions. I can see them.
Thank you for presentation, Yury. Hey. The question about the team. How do you think the best way to structure the team from the very beginning, from your perspective? And maybe you can tell more about what you do at Ultra.
Thanks for the question. So the easy answer is also, it depends, because there are very lots of spaces where the team structure may significantly vary. For example, an early stage team of a biotech startup can significantly vary from the early stage of a consumer social app. But usually you need a person, a passionate person, which is a driver of the whole team. It's usually the first founder, and usually the CEO, just gathers all the people and drives them with some kind of a passion. And you need as many folks that can actually get things done as possible. So I mean, not as many, but as less to reach your initial goal. So maybe you can provide me with a bit more context, the specific context. I can answer more specifically, because I mentioned, I'm very cautious about making giving some kind of advices, because the context may really vary, and I just prefer not to throw some kind of an easy answers. Wow. I've tried to do my best to have no more than 6, maximum 7 people on the team until we find real product market fit. And by product market fit, I mean not always. In our case, the path was very long to it, because it's a consumer social app, and the typical view of product market fit may vary segment from segment. But I'd keep the team of up to 7 people. I'd make sure that all of them are really into it because they believe in what we are building, and that they all are providing significant value. I understand that this is a very abstract answer to this question, but actually I need some time to think of it to answer it in a better way.
You can discuss it after
the sure.
First part. So we have 1 minute left. If you have very small question, or maybe it's time to finish asking the questions, because we need to choose the one who's the winner. Do you have a winner?
Maybe one quick question?
Oh,
no?
Okay, one quick question. I see that you need it. Okay.
Yury, we used to live in Belarus, and you mentioned Oktyabrska and all that spirit and vibe. Now it's different. And my question to you, where do you get inspiration? What's the source of your inspiration nowadays, today?
Well, wow. Well, actually, nowadays, my work is closely related with meeting hundreds of startup founders every month. And I really, sometimes it can become tough. You open your calendar and you see 12 end-to-end meetings, and you're kind of, well, but then I remind myself that I'm in a very lucky position to every day meet like ambitious, talented, and very smart people who want like to excite me. So basically, I mean, one of the biggest inspirations right now is meeting startup founders, for sure. And I'm very like lucky that I found myself in such a position.
Fantastic, thanks so much.
Really small question, really small answer, but very nice one. So, choosing the winner.
Oh, wow. Should I do it? Yeah, should I do it?
Yeah, you should.
Oh,
I can't.
Well, it's... Let's go with the first question regarding how to understand that it's time to like switch the initial hypothesis.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So.